Shaquille O'Neal is one of the most famous NBA players of all time. Having spent 20 plus years in the public eye, what secrets could he possibly still have? We're about to break it down with 10 things that might shock you about Shaquille O'Neal. Number 10. Shaq and his dad. Shaquille Rashawn O'Neal was born on March 6, 1972. His biological father, Joe Tony, was an all-state high school guard who had lost his basketball scholarship to Seton Hall. While Shaq was still an infant, Tony was sentenced to federal prison, and when he was released, his father got Joe to legally relinquish his parental rights to Shaq's stepfather, an Army drill sergeant named Philip Harrison, who raised him from the time he was 2. Shaq's resulting childhood was a fulfilling one. Once he started to make a name for himself, his father tried reaching out. One time in Orlando, Shaq actually left a basketball arena through a back entrance in order to avoid having to have any interaction with Tony, who had shown up and wanted to meet. It wasn't until years later, with his Basketball Hall of Fame induction on the horizon in the summer of 2016, that Shaq finally agreed to meet Joe. Then nearing 70 at that restaurant, he said, "I don't hate you," Shaq told him. "I had a good life. I had Phil." Number 9. Shaq's stepdad lost his teeth. Harrison, who is also known as Sarge, was a gruff parent who often relied on physical discipline for the young Shaq, claiming he'd rather punish his son himself than see it done on the streets of Newark beyond his purview. Though tough, Harrison was a pillar in Shaq's life, and Shaq frequently praised Phil for keeping him out of trouble and giving him direction. Luckily for little Shaquille, Harrison was a ball player himself and had actually played against Tony in high school. Not only that, he had coached Shaq's youth basketball teams throughout his childhood. Harrison would also sometimes brag about the time that Dave Cowens, the future Celtics Hall of Fame center, knocked out some of his teeth during a particularly aggressive game of pickup. In August of 1969, according to the Tallahassee Democrat, Cowens, who was then a star at Florida State University, happened to be in the Newark area. Number 8. Shaq's early height. At only 10 years old, Shaq was already 6 feet 4 inches tall. No one was more responsible for kids quitting youth basketball in the greater Newark area than the big Shaqtus in the mid-1980s. By 13, Shaq had grown to 6 feet 6 inches and wore size 17 shoes. Number 7. Shaq's jersey number. Little known by most fans is that Shaq's jersey number is inspired by an NBA legend. Harrison was responsible for Shaq embracing his size and using it to score under the basket rather than deferring and shying away from his clear physical advantages. By Shaq's teenage years, Harrison had been restationed and moved the family to San Antonio. A now poised and confident player, Shaq led his high school team to a 68-1 record during his junior and senior seasons. The school didn't possess a number 33 jersey, so Shaq's attempts to honor Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the trailblazing NBA center, were thwarted. Hence, this famous number 32 jersey was born. When he played at LSU, he was able to nab 33, but in his rookie NBA season in Orlando, veteran Terry Catledge refused to give up his number 33 jersey, so it was back to 32 for life as Shaq for the remainder of his time with the Magic. Number 6. Shaq's sophomore year at college. The 90-91 season was Shaq's coming out party. During his second collegiate season at LSU, the Diesel was a man amongst boys, becoming the first player to ever lead the SEC in scoring at 27.6 points per game, rebounds at 14.7, and field goal percentage at 62.8%, as well as blocked shots at 140 on the year. And he took his opponents by surprise. Those who expected a round mound of rebound were taken aback by his sheer power. As rival Daryl Ice Jones of southeastern Louisiana so eloquently put it, "I thought Shaq would be fat, but he's got no fat, none whatsoever. He's just 7 feet of muscle, a muscle monster." Number 5. Shaq and the Dream Team. If there's one player that seems mysteriously missing from the 1992 Olympic Dream Team, including the likes of Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, and Irvin Johnson, it's Shaquille O'Neal. One thing fans may not know is that Shaq was not selected for the Dream Team. And yes, he was upset about it. While the powers that be attempted to choose the best NBA talent possible to represent Team USA and take on the world at the 92 Summer Olympics in Barcelona, they reserved one roster spot for a collegiate star. Shaq was a junior at LSU at the time and fully eligible, but the spot instead went to Christian Laettner, a Duke standout who was thought of as more polished. At the time, the international free throw lane was designed differently, and the committee filling out the roster believed that would cause traditional post-up centers like Shaq to lose their effectiveness. Of course, the young Shaq didn't take it well. "I was pissed off," he recalled 20 years later. "I was jealous. But then I had to come to the realization that I was a more explosive, more powerful player. But Christian Laettner was a little bit more fundamentally sound than I was. Luckily, the snub only motivated him. Team USA took home the gold in '92, and they did again in Atlanta during the '96 games, which Shaq was on that team. Number 4, Shaqs LSU Team. Somehow, despite featuring the monstrous 7'1", 294-pound Shaq for 3 full SEC seasons, his LSU Tigers only went 2-3 in 3 seasons in the Big Dance, never advancing past the second round. Shaq ended his 91-92 SEC Player of the Year season with a remarkable 36 points and 12 rebounds, while stunningly going 12 for 12 from the line, a feat that he'd never accomplished once he went pro in an 89-79 loss to Indiana. But these early exits certainly didn't deter NBA scouts. He was still the first overall draft pick in 1992, heading to the Orlando Magic. Number 3, rookie Shaq hated alcohol. Shaq was immediately the toast of the NBA. Among his many accolades, he was named Rookie of the Year for the 92-93 season, and he nabbed a starting spot in the All-Star game in his first 4 seasons. But though young Shaq was the new face of the game and the life of the party at 21, he couldn't stomach alcohol. Can't even tolerate the smell of table wine, his teammate Dennis Scott used to say. Turns out there was a good reason for that. My father caught me sipping a beer with my cousins when I was like 13, O'Neal told Vanity Fair years later. He made me drink a 12-pack right then. Not only did I get drunk, I hated beer, and I never had the urge to drink again. Number 2, Shaq and Kobe didn't always get along. The most prominent portion of Shaq's career was spent in Los Angeles, and his 8 seasons with the Lakers brought 3 NBA championships to the city. But while Shaq's LA years are known for being unfathomably dominant, many wonder how fruitful they could have been if he and teammate Kobe Bryant hadn't been so incompatible off the court. Bizarrely, the two couldn't sync their play properly from the outset based on talent alone. Long before their famous feud and struggle for credit and control of the locker room began, 2 of their first 3 campaigns together ended in embarrassing playoff sweeps. It wasn't until head coach Phil Jackson arrived prior to the 99-2000 season that anything seemed to click. Once Jackson installed his famous triangle offense, emphasizing perfect spacing and high IQ passing decisions, everything changed. An unstoppable three-peat followed, highlighted by Shaq's averages in the 2000 finals. 45 minutes, 38 points, 17 rebounds per game. Number 1, the Backboard Rule. In the 1990s, Shaquille O'Neal broke backboards and changed the rules of the game. When Shaq was on the Orlando Magic in 1993, he made a putback dunk that was so strong it deflated the hydraulic system that holds up the backboard, and the goal ended up folding and lowering to the floor. This caused the National Basketball Association to now always have a backup hooper goal for every arena. Not only that, but because Shaq had continued to break the hoop, the league made changes to the materials of the backboards. This was the second time after Daryl Dawkins forced them to change it earlier. The zone defense was the biggest thing changed. Zone wasn't allowed until Shaq started dominating. He even changed one rule now popularized as Hack-a-Shaq. This meant changing players couldn't foul opposing players on purpose that didn't have the ball in their hands during the last 2 minutes of the game, or they would reward the opposing teams with 2 free throws and the ball. The Hack-a-Shaq strategy was used against Shaq, where they would foul him because of his poor free throw percentage. During his entire career, Shaq made an average of 52.7% of his free throws per game. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. This has been our 10 things that might shock you about Shaquille O'Neal.